Next up, predictive care.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the co-founder and COO of Predictiv. I am an electrical engineer and started my career in strategic consulting in companies such as Accenture, PwC. I was also a partner at KPMG. 10 years ago, I founded my first startup company that got successfully acquired 2 years later. I then went back to Europe, where I'm from, to found the first fintech accelerator in continental Europe, the Cube, that also got successfully acquired 2 years later. I then decided to move back to Silicon Valley, where I'm currently based, and I had the amazing chance to meet Sajong. And he told me about that great project he was working on, a technology that would automate the entire DNA analysis process. This is how Predictiv started.
Predictiv is the most advanced DNA-based digital twin to predict and prevent diseases and adverse drug reactions. I'm Sajong, CEO and co-founder of Predictiv. My life mission is to save the most lives. My team members agree that the most effective way to do so is to save the savable lives. Every year, 55 million people die from serious diseases. However, 10% of these people, which is 5 to 6 million people every year, should have not died from it because their diseases were predictable and preventable.
So what is Predictiv? Well, if you remember the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, he was using a solution that enabled him to predict crimes before they happen so he can prevent them. We provide a solution that is very similar to healthcare professionals. We provide them this solution that enables them to predict diseases before the symptoms appear so they can be prevented. And to do that, we sequence your entire genome, your 20,000 genes. And that enables us to assess the level of risk on 22,000 diseases, to simulate drug reactions, personalized drug reactions, to over 750 drugs. And we made a solution that is easy to use by any healthcare professional, no need to be a genomics expert. We have that solution that is not just a PDF report, but that is real-time and searchable. So basically, what you can do is you can Google your DNA. You can search by gene, by disease, by drug, by chromosome. So you can search all by drug, all that, just in one toolbar. And because we assess and analyze your entire genome, we have a solution that evolves over time because science evolves very quickly in that field. And so does your digital twin. So how do we do that? Well, other alternatives on the market look at a limited number of gene variants and a limited number of diseases. And the reason why they do that is because every time they want to assess the level of risk on a disease, they have to manually look into the research papers. What are the gene variants associated with that specific disease? What we have done is that we have automated the entire process. So we look at 100% of diseases known to have a genetic component. We look at 100% of your genome. And based on that, we're able to match and to assess the level of risk for all diseases, for all your gene variants. We are primarily a B2B solution. We provide our solution to hospitals, telemedicine companies, physicians. And they are the ones who will recommend or prescribe our solution the same way they do today for other genetic tests. Once the patient gets the kit, he will just have to get a few fingernails, send it back to us. We will extract the DNA with our proprietary protocol to extract DNA from fingernails. We will sequence the entire genome thanks to next generation sequencing technology, and then we will analyze it. And at the end of the process, we have a genetic counseling session, which is key because we provide the data to predict the diseases, but we want also people to get out of it with a preventive plan. To build Predictiv, we have set up an amazing and complementary team with Sajung and his identical twin brother, Si-Jung, both genomics and bioinformatics experts and teaching genomics at Johns Hopkins, myself, serial entrepreneur, Alexander Bresfold, a full-stack software engineer who's our CTO, Mylani, who's an MD physician and Johns Hopkins trained bioinformatician, and Shivam, our head of growth. So we launched in February this year and already have had amazing traction. We have signed with over 200 hospitals, 3,300 physicians. We are currently deploying our solution to them, but we are very excited to have such partners. We have also signed our first contract for our nutrition product with the Quality of Life, an online retailer for vitamins and supplements. So we're having all that great traction and so many reviews and comments from people excited to have those results and to be potentially able to predict diseases for them or for people close to them. We also have the chance to have two great investors. First of all, Plug and Play Ventures, one of the largest early stage investor in the world, who previously invested in PayPal, Google, Dropbox, and recently Tim Draper, who's leading our $1 million pre-seed round. Tim Draper being well known for being an early investor also in Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, and many others. We are deploying our solution in 9 countries on Earth and many more to come. But what about space? What about other planets?
One effective use of digital twin is to maximize the life cycle of a machine. I'm sure NASA monitors every component of spaceship by digital twins. One of the NASA's Mars exploration program goals is to prepare human exploration in the 2030s. Individualized digital twins of human astronauts would be an effective way to ensure the safety of humans in those long-term space missions. DNA is a blueprint of human health. As shown in the twin study, cosmic rays mutate the human DNA differently than the Earth environment. When germline DNA got mutated, wrong proteins kept made, and the person before and after the cosmic rays is basically a different person with a different genotype. Therefore, long-term space travelers, including the astronauts, need to have their DNA-based digital twins made regularly by check epithelial cell swaps, as the cells divide very frequently every 24 hours, and it is the area constant shedding take place. And an entire genetic profile needs to be analyzed per digital copy version of themselves over the space travel. Predictiv, we have developed algorithms to analyze human beings' entire 20,000 genes for 22,000 diseases, and that includes 10,000 significant diseases in real time by automatically building DNA-based digital twins from genomic sequencing data. We are hoping to provide our DNA-based digital twins for human healthcare to astronauts of long-term missions like the Mars exploration program and ensure the health safety of human habitat in Mars in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Predictiv? Go ahead, Alex.
Hi, great presentation and congratulations on the traction that you've been getting so far. That's where my question lies. You mentioned that you've signed over 200 hospitals and 3,300 physicians. Are you able to talk a little bit about what your revenues are?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for that question. So we launched in March this year, and we have signed those great contracts with some telemedicine companies and providers, software providers to hospitals. And we are currently deploying those hospitals. So those hospitals and physicians don't have the solution yet. That's what we're working on with those partners. This should be launched within weeks. So we're waiting for that. At the moment, we have launched also, we have a very small activity, which is B2C. We didn't plan to have any B2C activity, but we got a lot of requests from individuals. We have already 50 kits that got ordered, and a total of over 100 kits that were pre-ordered. So we are very confident we're on our path really to go to $250,000 this year by December.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, Greg.
Hello, and congratulations. This is really, really interesting. I don't think I have all the specific details, but I'll get smart for tomorrow for the table session. But our human research program that NASA has, I am aware that they want to do a lot of long-term studies before we go to Mars. And it's about how well someone could handle the space environment. Not only radiation, but weightlessness and a lot of other things. I could see this being a great tool to help us get that statistically significant sample and be able to ensure that we have as good a understanding as possible prior to sending the astronauts to Mars. So I think this would be a very useful capability. And I don't know how much you've plugged in with the human research program, but I think that would be a great source to tap into.
Oh, thank you. So in addition to the germline DNA, what we like to expand is not just the chromosome deletion inversions, but for DNA ligase activity, but also expanding to microsatellite mutation and all these chromosomal aberrations. So those are our interests, not just the germline, but also we want to expand to beyond the basic genomics.
Sounds good. Looking forward to the discussion tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Ramona.
Yes, great talk. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with you further. I did want to ask, a big issue in this area deals with privacy and securing this information. Other companies have gathered genetic information. Some are sharing it theoretically without identifying the individual, but it's become controversial. And the insurance companies would potentially love to get their hands on this and classify people as having pre-existing conditions, which is dangerous. So have you guys thought about that kind of thing? It's a wonderful technology, but one of those double-edged swords potentially, where it could be used negatively as well. So I just share just a little bit. There'll be other people who want to ask questions.
So just on your first point, we decided that the patient is the owner of the data. So the patient owns the data. We store the data, but the patient owns it. So he's the one who decides who can access it. We do not share the data with the third-party providers for business purposes. We do not share the data with anyone else. So that's the first point. Of course, we put a lot of focus also on security, data security. So we kind of try as much as possible as to anonymize the data. But of course, this is DNA, so you cannot anonymize DNA because that's unique stuff. So that's why we decided not to share that kind of data. On your second point regarding insurance companies, this is not, well, first of all, in the United States, depends on every country, but in the United States, it is not allowed for insurance companies to have access to genetic information of individuals. So that's, I would say, the first showstopper for insurance companies. The second point is that this is the decision of the patient, because the patient owns the data. So if the patient wanted to share the data with an insurance company or with his butcher, I mean, he can do it. That's his data. He does whatever he wants with it. But basically, this is not something that we plan to do, sharing with insurance companies. Even if the regulation allowed it, that's not something we plan to do. Nevertheless, and then I'll stop, insurance companies are really interested in it. And the reason why is not to have the data, but they're interested for people to have it. Because if you can prevent a cancer, if you can prevent diabetes, it's worth for the insurance company to spend a few $100s to save potentially millions of dollars afterwards. So that's where insurance, that's the discussions we have with insurance companies.
Well, I'm glad you're having those discussions. We'll talk more tomorrow.
All right, Chandra.
So my question was also on insurance companies. But since that was so eloquently asked and answered, I just want to say really interesting technology. Do you have some potential verticals in veterinarian science? So with like thoroughbred horses or high payment breeding in animals?
As of now, we didn't explore the possibility on the animals, but actually, as long as we can collect the DNA sample and then compare to the reference genome, then it's doable and possible.
I mean, the technology would be the same.
Yeah.
The technology would be the same. It's just the input data that would be different. But so theoretically, that's feasible. Not our priority, but that's feasible.
Thank you.
All right, Zach.
Hi. Can you talk a little bit about your business model, how you make money, and the nature of some of your relationships, specifically with hospitals? Are they paying? Are they partners? Do you have access to patient data to sort of, train your algorithms? Just go through how that's structured, please.
So that's a great question. So basically, what we charge we ask the patient to pay for it, or the insurance company to pay for it. Exactly the same way genetic tests are done today. If a physician prescribes you or recommends you a genetic test, you will pay for it, or your insurance will pay for it. So we stick in the, I would say, very standard business model on that. The contracts we have signed is basically hospitals that will use our solution either to replace their existing genetic tests that they are doing, and there are tens of millions of tests that are done every year just in the US. So this is already a huge market, and same in Asia. And the second part is about building predictive medicine, preventive medicine. Today, medicine is reactive. So you get sick, you go to the doctor, you get a treatment, and hopefully you get better. We try to change that and to go to a proactive medicine where you go to the doctor to avoid getting sick. So this is what we're doing. And so many hospitals and physicians and telemedicine companies are building up packages with us to promote, I would say, going to the doctor when you're not sick, to avoid being sick. And we charge also for information. So the retail price is $800. So $790. It includes the extraction, the sequencing, your digital twin, and a genetic counseling session, which is very important to set up the preventive plan. So this package, $790, includes everything. This is something you do once in your lifetime because your DNA does not change. Well, if you go to space, it might change, but for commoners, it does not change. So you do it once in your lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, and can you talk about the robustness of your reference data set, your reference patient, as you called it?
So I'll make it very simple. I know that Sajong would love to talk about it for hours, but basically to make it very simple, what we look at is we look at the human reference genome, which is kind of the golden standard. So this is let's call it the normal genome for a human being. Of course, nobody's normal, but that's the standard, the reference. And then we look at your gene variants, at your genes, and we compare that to the normal one, to the reference one. And then we identify the gene variants. And those gene variants, there have been a lot of research on it, and there will still be more and more research every day. And so we look at, this gene variant is known to increase the risk of breast cancer, of lung cancer. And so this is how we identify it. We set up a predictive score, depending on the accuracy, on how well we know, how well the research knows about it. And this is how accurate we are. And then we have a second step that is not live. So today we have only the genomics part. What we're building, and we tested it at the FDA COVID-19 challenge last year, is really using the artificial intelligence. And so we take your genomic data, we take your health data, your medical records, and we mix all that up and to define the outcome. And for COVID-19, yes, last year, so we had access to the VA files, 80,000 people, and they gave us, okay, those are the medical records of those 80,000 veterans. What would be the outcome if they got COVID? How long would they go to the hospital? Would they go to ICU? How long? And just to give you an idea, we had a 0.4 margin on the length of hospitalization and ICU hospitalization compared to the most accurate results. So we have an AI that is really strong. We're still working on it. That's why we did not deploy it. We still need to test it, and we're working to get access to a large number of, millions of people records to train it before launching it on the market.
Just a little bit more details. We are using the HD38 from the Genome Reference Consortium, which is the gold standard nowadays. And then for the reference genome, and we compare it to get the single nuclear polymorphism data. And then, that's a little bit more detail.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, and last question, Mark.
Thank you. Very impressive. My question is related to the barriers to entry. So at $790 a kit, unless your insurance is covering it, it seems that it might not be something that many people, I know you've said you've already had a lot of pre-orders, but can you just give me a sense of, at least within the United States medical market, the degree to which insurance companies have said that if there is a doctor's prescription or genetic counselor that has requested it, that the insurance company is willing to pay the full amount, or to the degree that this is viewed as a luxury or a preemptive requirement?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and many people don't know about it, but insurance companies already reimburse genetic tests when there is family history. If you have a family history for Lynch syndrome, for breast cancer, for lung cancer, the insurance company already reimburses genetic tests. The difference is that the genetic test will cost you usually between $2,000 and $4,000 for one single disease. We charge $790 for 22,000 diseases. So this is the key difference. So our solution can already be reimbursed in the same conditions as any other genetic test. The discussions we're having with the insurance companies is to change the way they reimburse, not just because there is a known family history, but just to pay it for everyone, because everyone has diseases. Just in the US, it's almost 10% of the population who suffer from a rare disease. And that is almost never covered by insurance companies. This is what we're discussing with, to bring it to everyone.
And a little bit more detail. So we also provide the ICD-10 code, for example, G15.89, which is a genetic susceptibility to other diseases, and G13.79, which is encounter for other screening for genetic and chromosomal anomalies. And in addition, we also linked 7,000 genetic diseases. And so those diseases also provide automatically ICD-10 code. So those are possibility getting reimbursement.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Predictiv.